Hello and welcome everyone to this episode number 24 of Deep Point with GillyCricket. It's been some time since we did this show because there was a lot of cricket happening, there was Ashes happening, and there was pretty much not much to discuss when it came to the Indian cricket team and the Indian cricket circuit in general. The Test series versus West Indies ended yesterday, and I must admit that watching these two Test matches was one of the toughest things that I've had to do as a cricket viewer or as someone who wants to cover the game. Because not only these Test matches were very slow placed. They did not have quality. Uh, Most times they lacked contest. The first Test match, West Indies clearly didn't turn up, and in the second Test match, West Indies did much better. I thought that the way they batted in the first innings was quite good on their part, but the pitch was such that as a batter you had difficulty in scoring runs, and as a bowler there was no help for you to pick up wickets. So yeah, I mean, these two test matches, given the pitches, the gulf in quality of the two teams, along uh, with the time zone, with matches going up till 3 a.m. in the night, it was just very difficult to cover these games, and that is why you also saw me not being a regular on all the post match shows. But so while I was watching these games, I had a lot of ideas as to what can actually affect test cricket or what can actually kill test cricket, because I felt as a viewer there was nothing for you to look forward to watching these games, because the one of the first things that a sport must look to achieve, or that as a viewer you want from the game, is that you want to have some entertainment regardless of which sport you watch it at first for the entertainment, and then you get emotionally attached to it, then you start supporting players, and then the sentiments come into it. But without entertainment, I find it very difficult to be a consistent watcher of any sport, or for that matter anything. And we have to realize that we live in times where the attention spans are becoming smaller and shorter, wherein even 30-second videos are just enough to convey what you want to say. So watching a game which is spread over 5 days, and 6 to 6.5 hours of play every day, giving that sport that much time and still not getting any entertainment out of it, it's difficult to expect people to do that. So on the back of that, today is going to be one of those episodes where we talk about that what actually kills test cricket and what actually brings it down. Is it the T20 leagues? Is it the gulf in quality among test playing nations, or is it the pitches, etc., etc.? There's a lot to talk about. Shubham Sharma is there. He says that Pakistan playing baseball, any chance for India and England series? We'll get to that because there's still time for that series. Uh, Hopefully, a few more players are fit. Hopefully, we get to see Rishabh Pant then. So it's going to it's going to uh, there's still time, so we can't really discuss about that. But very honestly, what I felt during these test matches was that and I said it on more than a few occasions, that if pitches are not going to have any pace, regardless of what format you play, it's going to be difficult to hold the crowds to watch the game. Because if there is pace on the pitch, your pacers come into the game, your batters get value for their shots, get even spinners are benefited from it, as batters don't get enough time to play them off the pitch. They're not able to use the slowness of the pitch to maneuver spin bowlers on the back foot. So as long as I feel there is pace in the pitch, all kinds of players would be interested, and that will more often than not make for a better contest. So that is one thing that I feel should be central to making any kind of cricket more watchable. You need to have better pitches. That is one. The other, I feel, Test cricket as a format is such that it is very difficult to bridge the gulf in quality in this format. We have seen England hardly won in Australia. Pakistan haven't really won in Australia. When it comes to touring South Africa, only Sri Lanka have been one team which has won a Test series in South Africa. We see what happens when teams are coming to India and playing Test cricket. it's a given. Even if teams are able to take the match to the fifth day, it's an achievement itself, because that is how dominant India have been in Test cricket. So I feel, to somehow cover up for the gulf in quality, where the ICC needs to step in is to make sure that there are more test playing nations by bringing back the Intercontinental Cup. It used to happen between the associate nations, where 4-day games used to play, because that way all the teams that are coming in, they will also be better prepared, and they will also be able to compete with the giants, which is not something happening right now. The way I see it, a few years down the line, you could have only 4 or 5 teams playing test cricket, and not more than that. The big three, and maybe South Africa, because even New Zealand struggle to hold a lot of test matches because it's not profitable. I'm not sure what's the scene with Pakistan when it comes to them holding test matches. So a lot of push also needs to come from the ICC as well, wherein you're also encouraging the host boards to host day-night matches, because the timings are also one thing. You can't expect matches, because I remember when Pakistan were hosting England, they had a test match starting on Monday, which was going to eventually end up on Friday. So there wasn't a single weekend day for crowds to come in and watch the game. So you have to incentivize as well for crowds to come in. You need to have the crowds, you need to have better facilities at the ground for crowds to come in, and you need to make a culture of test cricket. A lot of it needs to go into it, so that test cricket doesn't really become a very close format. And yeah, I mean, a lot of times there is discussion that, oh, maybe T20 and T20 leagues are killing test cricket, but I feel test matches like the one that we saw between India and West Indies are the ones that actually make spectators go away from test cricket. A few comments have come in. Sagar Chandra says, leave test cricket, it was too boring. I'm coming to the ODI. Do you think we will try Sky ahead of Gaikwad, or we will finally try Gaikwad, who's more of a KL Iyer replacement? Sagar, just stay with me on the episode. We will get to, discussing the kind of 11 that India can play in the ODI series. That is also on the agenda. But I just want to address a few things, and then we'll move on to that. Maybe in the next 5 to 10 minutes, we will move on to that, Sagar. But please stay on till then on the video. Jayesh Khemka says, thoughts on conducting test matches in so many different venues like Eden Gardens, Chinnaswamy, and Wankhede not getting a test versus England. I feel big venues can fill stadiums more easily for test matches. I believe this time it's probably in the coming home season. What the BCCI is trying to do is, it is trying to compensate those state associations which haven't gotten a game at the World Cup. So it's more about that this time, and having test match centers is something which Virat Kohli has talked about earlier, and that's the case in other countries as well. You know where the test matches are going to held. In South Africa and in Australia, that the Boxing Day Test match will be held in Melbourne and Durban respectively, and the New Year's Test will be held in Sydney and in Cape Town respectively. And a lot of times, the first Test match is actually in Centurion or in Brisbane when it comes to Australia, and a day-night Test match is mostly at it has so far been at Eden Gardens only, and the last Ashes was in Hobart as well. So uh, having consistency always helps in whatever in any walk of life. So of course that helps for sure. uh, Paji, England won Ashes in Australia by 4-0 margin, so don't underestimate England's progress in this century. When they never won by 4-0 margin, they won by 3-1, and last Ashes they lost. I don't know. The 401 was in 2000. No, that was 3-1. That was 3-1. But it was a long time ago. That's what I said. It was a long time ago. Even England won a series in India in 2012. But what I'm talking about is the general trend. There was also a time where South Africa had not lost a test series on the road for 9 years, which coincided with Dale Steyn's peak year. So that was a pretty good Australian South African team, which had the likes of Hashim Amla, Graham Smith, Jack Callis, A.B. de Villiers, Mark Boucher, uh, and there was very good support for someone like Dale Steyn, with Philander being there, Morne Morkel being there. So yes, there have been exceptions, but I'm talking about what is the general trend. Shubham Sharma says Test cricket should be limited to Eden, Mumbai, Chennai, Ahmedabad, and one more center from north except Kotla. I like that Shubham mentioned except Kotla. And for obvious reasons, you've heard me enough talk about Kotla. Sport fan says, do you see any solution to rain affected draws resulting in points deduction in WTC? See, I'd only say one thing, that cricket needs to be more flexible when they know what the rain forecast is. Sometimes we have rain forecast in the evening and we still don't start the game ahead of the scheduled time. So these are the things I think we can look to address. But see, it's a part and parcel of the sport. I don't think it is possible to completely eliminate the factor of rain in cricket in general. Forget Test cricket. Any more comments on test matches, or how was your viewing experience of these test matches? Because for me it was really difficult to watch these test matches because absolutely nothing was happening. It felt way too easy at some point of time, then it was way too boring. If you read about the match day reports or the features on cricket.com, you'll understand why I'm saying that, because all our writers felt that someone, and these are guys who can watch a lot of cricket, and they watch even associate cricket, they watch whatever kind of cricket is there, and even they felt the toll of just watching these games, so it was difficult. uh, Sagar Chandra says viewing was terrible. Slept, occupied myself with other things on many sessions. Yeah, I agree. Sport fan asked me, how do you see Northcote's performance in the West Indies Test, and do you see him starting in South Africa? Also in ODIs, to see him getting preferred over Arshdeep. I think why Arshdeep did not get the nod for the ODIs is one. I feel the Indian selectors wanted him to continue uh, on that county stint. That is one, and the other being, in the couple of ODIs that he played, he didn't really have a lot of control. So they want him to have more game time under his belt. And the next other option that they saw of a left arm pacer, it was Jaidev Nadkat. I felt that Nadkat bowled well in the first Test match. In the second one, the slowness of the pitch really didn't help him. Unlike Siraj, he didn't really have that extra pace to trouble the batters, and I feel that played a part. Sagar Dalwani says, I cannot express my sadness seeing Tests and T20Is getting all the attention. Come on, yaar, ODIs are the best format cricket has seen. It requires unique skill sets. It requires both unique skill sets and some skill set of Test match batting, as well as some skill set of T20 cricket batting. So, yes, that way I feel ODI cricket is the perfect amalgamation of both the formats. It's just that with the two new balls and only four fielders being allowed for the first 40 overs, I think batting has become way too easy in ODI cricket. But if you have ODI cricket being held in Sri Lanka, where the ball sort of swings for the 15 for the first 15-20 overs, whether you are playing under lights or it's just the weather conditions with the breeze blowing, batting is not as easy. So you have to take your time, then sort of consolidate and then score runs again. In fact, conditions in the World Cup qualifier in Zimbabwe were also quite good for ODI cricket, because there was a little help early on for the bowlers. Then batters could consolidate and score runs. So yeah, I mean, ODI cricket requires probably the amalgamation of the skill sets of both T20 and Test cricket, I feel. Shubham Sharma says, for South Africa series, we need hit the deck bowlers with good height. Centurion is pacey and Cape Town is seaming. Correct. I agree with Shubham here, and a lot would depend upon what is Bumrah's fitness, what is Prasidh Krishna's fitness, how is Shami doing. So yeah. Madiwala says, do you think Pujara might make a comeback in Test? Also, love the glasses. Thank you so much. I'm wearing the glasses because, my eyes really have been, you know, experiencing some kind of strain. So I just, wore them as an anti-glare thing for precaution, so that I don't get a number. So far, there isn't, but thank you so much. Uh, yeah, Pujara might make a comeback in Test given the way things are. Maybe when India tour Australia next year, but I don't know right now what's going to happen in test matches for sure. Yeah. Anyway, now I'm going to move on to what Sagar had asked me, because I feel we've discussed about why Test cricket why watching Test cricket was a difficult thing in these two Test matches. But yeah, I'm now going to come to the subsequent series, which is going to happen. It starts day after tomorrow on the 27th, which is the ODI series versus West Indies. Now, many might think that it doesn't have a lot of relevance because West Indies have not qualified for the World Cup, which is correct. But at the same point, what I'm interested in seeing is that what combination do India go in with? Because right now, India are playing with at least three, without at least three of their sure shot starters in the 11, which is Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, and Jasprit Bumrah. So I want to see what is their approach. And Mohammad Shami is also not there. He's been rested. So Siraj is probably the first choice pacer from the 11 that probably starts in the World Cup opener. So there are at least four spots up for grabs in the 11 because I feel the opening is set, number 3 is set, 4 and 5 is up for discussion. Who will keep wickets is up for discussion. I feel Hardik is going to play, so is going to be Ravindra Jadeja. Then between the two full-time spinners, I specialist spinners rather, I believe India will start with Kuldeep over Chahal because of Kuldeep's recent performances in the ODI format. Uh, then come the two pacers because Siraj should be a sure shot starter, though I would likely rest him, and I would actually like India to play both Unadkat as well as Umran Malik and play Shardul Thakur as well to see how Shardul Thakur is improving as a third pacer. What's the status of how what's the status of Umran Malik's development in terms of his control, and what can Jaydev Unadkat provide with the left arm angle? Because I feel at this point of time, India cannot risk any injury to someone like Mohammad Siraj, and he's been doing well, so you might as well rest him. The counter opinion to this could be that if he's in good rhythm, then anyway, he's going to have some rest because until the Asia Cup, because he's not going to travel to Ireland, he's not a part of the T20 series, so maybe he will get rest regardless of for a month. So maybe you could play him, but the key point for me in the 11 is that who bats at number 4 and who bats at number 5. Now, there's obviously Ishan Kishan, who's been the backup wicketkeeper and the backup opener, and there is Sanju Samson. India did play Ishan Kishan at number 4 versus New Zealand when Shreyas Iyer was injured and out with a back injury. And at that point of time, Sanju Samson wasn't a part of the squad. And then India has Surya Kumar Yadav in the mix as well. Also, there's Akshar Patel in the squad, and he's been in very good batting form, and he provides you another bowling option. He's also a left-hander. I feel that India would like to go in with a left-hander at number 4 and a right-hander at number 5. Now the possibility is that they either go in with Ishan Kishan at number 4 with probably a Surya Kumar Yadav at 5, or maybe Hardik Pandya at 5 and Surya Kumar Yadav at 6 with Ravindra Jadeja at 7. The other possibility that I see is that they play Sanju Samson and they play Surya Kumar Yadav at 4, and then you have all right-handers till number 6 with Ravindra Jadeja at 7. What I would like to see during this ODI series is that India bat Akshar Patel at number 4, and then you have Sanju Samson at number 6, Hardik Pandya at 5, and Ravindra Jadeja at 7, because that gives you two left-handers in the top 7. And Akshar Patel, we know, has been very good with the bat, and it not only gives India 6 bowling options, it gives India 7 bowling options because Akshar Patel can bowl, he can also bowl in the power play. Hardik Pandya bowls, Ravindra Jadeja bowls, so does your remaining 4 bowlers. So you have 7 bowling options with batting probably till 8 if you play Shardul Thakur. So that is the combination that I would like India to go in with. But I suspect very strongly that India will play Ishan Kishan at number 4, given the fact that he's a left-hander and he's been your backup opener and backup keeper since the time Pant has been injured. So I feel India will go in with that. And if India go in with that, then the choice for the remaining spot in the 11 will be either between Surya Kumar Yadav, who had 3 consecutive ducks, first ball ducks versus Australia, or Sanju Samson at number 5 or number 6. So these are the few things that India will have to look out for. If Mohammad Siraj plays, I feel Shardul Thakur will be the second pacer, and the third pacer spot will be between Unadkat or Umran Malik. So I'm very interested to see what 11 do India go in with, and what is the strategy of using those players, like who bowls in the middle overs. uh, do India experiment with Ravindra Jadeja in the power play? uh, where does Ravindra Jadeja bowl, who bowls at the death? Because if Siraj doesn't play, then India don't know who bowls at the death. So quite a lot to see from a strategic point of view, not really from a result point of view, because even if India win 3-0, it's not going to suggest anything, because West Indies have been quite bad in ODI cricket in recent times, as we saw even in the qualifier. So that is what I expect to see during this series. I'll now take on the comments. A lot of comments have come in. Just give me a moment. Pranav Satvai says India versus West Indies is the most boring test that I've ever watched. Nothing wrong with India. It's the West Indies cricket that needs to be blamed. I wasn't blaming, Indian cricket. I was just talking about how Test cricket needs to become far more watchable, and I agree that West Indies cricket. I wouldn't really say they need to be blamed. I just think that they need to, invest a lot more in Test cricket, and the ICC needs to help them in sort of becoming better towards Test cricket. Just looking at the questions now. Sagar Chandra says, Gil Bhai, I know there is hype for Gil and his potential, but do you think we should drop him for Eastern Gaikwad? Maybe he hasn't performed besides the 91 in Gaba. Uh, that's a stretch. Uh, he had a very good tour to Australia. Then, when he had to play versus England at home, the pitches were difficult. He did have a good 50 versus England in the first test in Chennai in second innings. He did decently versus New Zealand in the two Test match series. Had a 50 plus score. He batted well in Mumbai as well, where the pitch wasn't an easy one. And I felt he did while he was batting in the two WTC finals in 21 and in 2023. He looked okay. He got out cheaply, but he looked okay. It wasn't like that he was looking in any kind of discomfort. What I feel is, and this is just a theory, is that even though he's made some slight technical adjustment with his trigger movement, wherein he starts on the leg stump and then tries to come in and cover the middle stump and the off stump to ensure that he doesn't get RBW out to the in swinger. I just think in Test cricket that in swinger plays on his mind a lot more, and he sometimes is not sure, and he's not able to commit to a certain line. Like if you look at his dismissal versus Kimar Roach in this Test match, uh, he played a little away from the body because he wanted to cover the line of the stumps and he wasn't sure if the ball will leave him or come in. I still feel that his best position is probably number five, till the time he doesn't sort out his issues versus movement, because he's very good against spin, he's very good versus pace. He just needs to play out those few deliveries with the ball coming in, and then he should be all right. What we also need to realize is that a lot of players who succeeded as good test match players, they started as players who were batting at number five, number six, number seven. You saw that with Rahul Dravid. Saurav Ganguly also started as a number five. Even Sachin Tendulkar started as a number six. So maybe he needs some protection. But yeah, I feel, see, Iswaran, they dropped him. Iswaran was dropped for no reason. I felt he should have been in the squad ahead of Ruturaj Gaikwad. And I feel in South Africa they'll probably play the same team. After South Africa, we might see a few changes. If Shubman Gill doesn't do well in South Africa, then yes, he could lose his spot. That is a possibility. Supan Roy says, bro, say something about Virat's Perth innings. I watched this innings today again. That's why I asked it. And which century is better, Century in 2018 or Perth 2018? Perth 2018 century is one of the top five centuries of Virat Kohli across his 76 international centuries, because it was a very difficult pitch to bat on. I know Cheteshwar Pujara was India's standout batter in that tour to Australia, and rightly so. But if I were to pick the best innings of that entire series, it was Virat Kohli's 128. That remains one of his best international centuries. It is his best century in Australia without a doubt. It is better than his Adelaide twin hundreds, because it was a very difficult pitch to bat. India were in a spot of bother. I rate that highly than the Centurion 2018 one, because Centurion did not have the same level of inconsistent bounce which Perth had, and the ball was also moving around. So yeah, for me, Perth 2018 is better than Centurion 2018. In fact, between, I'd say, Perth 2018, Edgbaston 2018, and then Centurion. I mean, if I had to rate those three centuries. Ijaz Ali says, "Did you saw Jared Kimber's video on Jaswal century? Any thoughts?" I haven't, but I will now that you've mentioned it. Uh, Madiwalar says, doesn't Samson make more sense either two down or three down? Uh, See, there's not a lot of difference between batting two down or three down. It all just comes down to what situation do you come into. Cricket is more especially limited overs, is more of a situation oriented game than a position oriented game. Sometimes you can be too stuck up on positions and not really understand and realize which player might be better at that point of time for that particular situation. So, as long as Samson's coming in the middle order where he has to take on spin and then probably go hard against pace once he's settled in, I think he should be doing fine. Shivam Sharma says we need one LHB in batting order, but sadly till six we have our RHB. Maybe Akshar can play at four. Hardik batting is not for six. He should bat it instead. Shardul we should include. Just trying to figure out the second half of the sentence. I can't find that. But anyway, Sagar Chandra says, but all experts say that the chief way of dismissal is because of techniques. He plays a lot on his front foot, and that's why he keeps edging due to rigidity to move. Gilbhai, do you want Shubman to bat at 5-6? However, he has said Dravid that he'd prefer to bat at 3 or latest 4. So we won't. Yeah, we won't see him. And coming to your first comment, I don't think it's that because he plays a lot on his front foot. In fact, if anything, Sanjay Manjrekar, I think explained Gill's technique very well. That why Gill has that extra second is because if anything, he doesn't really camp on the front foot at all times. He's waiting on his back foot and then comes forward. I just think his issue is that he's not able to play the ball coming in, and that creates a lot of doubt. And in ODIs, he's still able to do it better because the ball doesn't swing that much and doesn't swing for long enough. But in test matches, that is a problem. I hope that he really sorts it out soon. Sanjay Bharti Saravanan says, I think Ishan Kishan will play number four because of lefty option, like Rohit said for Jaiswal, waiting for left-handed batsmen, and our ODI setup is full of righty, and Nishan should be opening back up. Yeah, so if it is opening back up, then he shouldn't. I am not comfortable with him batting at four. I'd rather have Akshay Patel bat at four because he's been in very good form. Is Sport 2018 the one where Virat made the talking hand gesture, or I am thinking of a different one? It's the same one. Sagar Dalwani says MCC has recommended to play just ODIs in World Cup year, but doesn't it make more sense to not play bilateral T20s anymore? Anyway, there are ample leagues to watch T20s other than generating money. I feel one of the reasons why they are playing T20s in West Indies is because it's the venue for next year's World Cup. Also, T20 will bring in more crowds, more gate money or ticket money. So a lot of cricket is also played with the motive of making money. So yeah, if anything, in this year they should be playing more ODIs than T20s, and they shouldn't really be. They should have actually prioritized playing Afghanistan ahead of playing West Indies, and they had a full tour, but they didn't. So yeah, there are few things which don't make sense, but they still happen, unfortunately. Sagar Chandra says, I cannot understand how Kishan is an all format player. Honestly, still don't understand how he's playing T20 eyes ahead of Gaikwad, opener, or Jitesh keeper. Such things make me feel there's MI quota. See, Jitesh, when Kishan made his debut, Jitesh wasn't a big name. Kishan made his debut back in 2021, and he started off with the bang. He scored a 50 in his first ODI against in his first T20I versus England, and then he made it to the World Cup squad for the 2021 World Cup ahead of Shikhar Dhawan and Shreyas Iyer, both because he was a left-handed explosive batsman who could bat in the middle order and could also keep. Uh, but after that, he's not really. I feel he's not really improved his game, and he's been found out. So that is something that I'd still like to do, and I keep mentioning it that I feel his dot ball percentage really needs to improve. Why he plays ahead of Gaikwad is because he provides the wicket keeping option, and with Pant not playing all the games or being out of the T20 setup, he just became the default guy who could provide you two things. And now I feel in these T20s it would be interesting to see that who do India stick with. Like now, I feel now if anything, Gill and Jaswal should open, but there is Ishan Kishan as well, so and there is I think there's Sanju Samson too. So it would be interesting to see what do they go in with. Yes, Gaikwad is a better batter for sure, but uh, the package sometimes is more preferable because you have other options, and that's how things are, unfortunately. Sagar Chandra says Paji Kishan averages 20 in his last 25 innings. I agree. And, he would have probably lost his place in the T20I team if he had not scored 400 plus or not had a few good innings for MI in this IPL. But in the second half of the IPL, he did have a few good innings for MI, and I think that made sure that he kept his spot in the squad. Might just keep it in the 11. I don't know. Archit Aryaman's asking Gil bhai, what do you think should be the batting lineup in Test when KL and Ayer come back? Also, I think Gil should bat at 5 in Test because of his back foot trigger. See, when KL and Ayer come back, it's difficult to say because KL was an opener. But I feel if I had an option of, in the absence of Pant, if I had an option of India playing a wicketkeeper batter, I'd rather have KL Rahul play as a wicketkeeper batter and number 5, number 6. So, and there's Ajinkya Rahane as well. So I'm not sure if Ajinkya Rahane scores runs and both Shreyas and KL are fit that they'd really drop Ajinkya Rahane for one of them. It's going to be tricky. But if I was there, I'd play KL as the wicketkeeper batsman as long as Pant is absent because I feel he's a better bet than Ishan Kishan and KS Bharat both. And between between Shreyas Iyer and Ajinkya Rahane, it depends upon where you are playing those test matches. If you are playing it in India, play Shreyas Iyer ahead of Ajinkya Rahane, come what may. If you are playing in South Africa or Australia, uh, play play Ajinkya Rahane ahead of Shreyas Iyer without a doubt. England also, you could make a case that Ajinkya Rahane can play, but Ajinkya Rahane's average in England isn't the greatest. It's below 30, so it all just comes down to where you're playing, I feel. Supan Roy says, bro, I think India should take two seamers with Hardik and three spinners Jadeja, Akshar, Kuldeep in ODI. I said something similar. Uh, Three seamers and then three seamers in Siraj, Shardul, and Unadkat or Umran with Hardik as the all rounder. Because if you go in with Akshar, then you can actually play seven bowlers. I'm looking at the other comments. Sagar Dalwani says Gaikwad is so underrated. He and Gill both opened together in all India matches in 2019 season. Gaikwad literally outscored him in both Sri Lanka and West Indies series, but still Gill get the nod. Sometimes, if you don't get selected at the right point of time, see, this is where someone like the case of Usman Khwaja is a great one. Usman Khwaja made it back to the team in the last Ashes purely because Travis had got COVID, and because if Travis had not got COVID, he wouldn't have played. He played, he scored two centuries. It's not that he was not scoring runs before, he was, but he couldn't get the opportunity. So sometimes you could do all the hard work, but you also need to be at the right place, in the right place at the right time. And that is something that has not happened with Ruturaj Gaikwad despite all the skill and all the performances. It has happened for others. Um I myself felt that Gill being selected in T20Is at the point of time he did wasn't particularly a great move because Gaikwad was doing better. But after the first few games, Gill grabbed his chances like anything, and in the last IPL that happened, he's just taken it away. So it's about a factor of a lot of things. Gill, when he got his chances in 2021 or 2022, he kept scoring runs. He scored runs in West Indies. He scored runs in Zimbabwe. He scored runs versus South Africa. So he continued to score runs, and then he scored runs against Sri Lanka. Then he scored runs against New Zealand. So when you have that much volume of runs, it becomes difficult to drop you. So uh, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that Ruturaj Gaikwad can be a very good ODI batsman. His his game once he's settled in and his acceleration abilities once he's settled in are brilliant. But let's hope he gets his chances soon. I hope post this World Cup, Gill and Ruturaj are India's first choice openers in ODIs for sure. Sagar Chandra says that Jaswal might debut ahead of Jaswal might debut before Uturaj Gaikwad gets another chance. Could happen. I won't. In Indian cricket, you have to be prepared for everything. Sanjay Bharti Saravanan says, "Are three main players recovery mode? How difficult will be for them to come back and perform in big matches like Asia Cup and World Cup?" See, coming back from injury is never easy, uh, because one, at the back of your mind when you are playing, what what is still at the back of your mind is that, oh, if I have had a bad hamstring, I don't want to pull it again. If I have had a bad back, I don't want to do something extra. It's not something that I'm making it up myself. It's something which ex-cricketers have spoken about when they are making a comeback from injury. So it's going to be difficult. But if they are back by the Asia Cup, uh, you want them to take that Asia Cup as a practice tournament for the World Cup and try and get back into the full groove as possible. For me, these three guys, Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, and Jasprit Bumrah, they walk into the 11 if they are fit. You have to give them game time. You have to back them to come good. And yeah, because at this point of time, there is no one who's been doing better than them. Shivam Sharma says, Paji, according to you, who's is the most balanced ODI setup? I think Pakistan and Australia have all bases covered. Uh, Australia definitely. Pakistan, yes, you could argue. Uh, I am not sure about Pakistan doing well on pitches which are not exactly flat. Even though there is Babar Azam who is quality and they have a good bowling attack, because their pacers are someone who could really take the pitch out of the equation. Naseem Shah is very accurate. Shaheen is a bank when it comes to taking wickets with the new ball. Haris Shroff has that extra pace who can again take the pitch out of the equation. Then there is Mohammad Nawaz and Shadab Khan. So yes, I do think that these two teams should be making the semi-finals. But sometimes I just feel that Pakistan's batting could be slightly unreliable if Babar doesn't have a good day. So it's about that. But yes, they do seem to have bases covered. I think on on some pitches, even England are good enough, because they will always go in with all rounders, and their batting is something that can make up for the lack of quality in their bowling on a few pitches, and they could really score those 20-30 extra runs. So yeah, you're pretty much right. But apart from that, we'll have to eventually see that what squads come to the World Cup. Uh, South Africa, South Africa's bowling attack can be a little dicey, because if Rabada is not having a good day, Shamsi is not having a good day, then the other bowlers come under a lot of pressure. But their batting is one of the better ones, and you have Markram and Miller at 4 and 5, who've been very good versus spin as well. Temba Bavuma has also been good in ODI. So there's that. Quinton de Kock has a lot of experience of playing in India. So Rassi van der Dusen is a very consistent run maker. So yeah, all the bases covered. Maybe these two teams only, but we'll have to see again what is the form, fitness, and what squad eventually comes to the World Cup. Yeah, two matches in a row नहीं मिलते गायकवाड़ को. Exactly, it's something that didn't happen with Bishnoi as well. Both of them played a single ODI versus South Africa. I think it was in Lucknow, and then both of them got dropped. It was really unfair on them, and there's a reason why I don't talk about Prithvi Shaw coming into the ODI setup, because if someone like Uturaj Gaikwad is not making it to the ODI setup because of other players that are there who are also doing well, Prithvi Shaw can't. So yes, hopefully Gaikwad gets his due and gets his chances, but yeah, I think it will only happen after the World Cup in ODIs. Mayur Matiwalar says, you think Sai Sudarshan or Abhishek Sharma might get a chance in the India team after their Asia Cup performance, left-handed openers? There is time, because they're both 21, 22, and like we've been discussing, there is Ruturaj Gaikwad who's waiting in the wings and who's been doing far better. and probably deserves this chance ahead of these guys. So there is time. There is also, if you just want to go to a left-handed opener, there's Yashasvi Jaiswal again waiting in the wing. So Sai Sudarshan and Abhishek Sharma will need to wait some time. I do think that at some point of time, Sai Sudarshan will play for India. Uh, I hope that even Abhishek Sharma does, but yeah, I'm quite confident that Sai Sudarshan will. Sagar Chandra has reminded me of Klassen and spin. Yes, an outstanding combination. So, like I was saying, with South Africa, the batting is not a problem at all. Their bowling, if it's inconsistent, then it could really have a bad day. But their batting, like we've talked about, is just one of the better ones coming to this World Cup. Sagar Dalwani is saying the same. South Africa has a good ODI batting lineup, can be the underdogs to win. Yep. Anyway, any more questions on today's show? We have discussed Ruturaj and selection. Sagar Dalwani has had a lot to talk about selection. So has Sagar Chandra. Both the Sagars have also, made quite a lot of friendship in the comments. As you can see, they seem to agree with each other. But yeah, uh, Mayur Madiwala is asking, have you been keeping up with Park Sri Lanka Test? Park have been playing some aggressive cricket, good to watch. I watched the first one, and I felt, I must admit that I felt that, Sri Lanka would be the better team because they have better spinners, and Gaul, they've been playing so much cricket at Gaul that it would be difficult to defeat them, but uh, they didn't bat well. They lost few cheap wickets in the first innings, and then there was the partnership. And then Saud Shakil batted brilliantly to just give Pakistan a very good lead, which meant that Sri Lanka were always up against it in the third innings. And I thought Pakistan bowled tightly. Abrar Ahmed was quite outside of the two paces in Naseem and Shaheen. I thought Abrar was quite accurate. Then Noman Ali also, I think, picked up three wickets in the second innings. So, and they were backed up by some very good catching. Pakistan hardly dropped anything. So those half chances were converted. So I was surprised with Pakistan winning the first test, to be quite honest. I could not catch the second test, but when I saw the scorecard, I read a few comments, I read a few reports. There were also two runouts. So that tells you the kind of cricket, the batting that Sri Lanka did. I've not been able to watch it, but yeah, I'll try watching it. So uh, I read I read Mazhar Arshad saying that when Pakistan were preparing for this, their batters were told that you will not play more than three dot balls. So I don't know how true is it, or how serious were they about that. But yeah, they've been playing some good aggressive cricket, and there's a chance that Pakistan could win the series. And as I thought that that this series would probably end in a draw, but Pakistan winning 2-0 would be some result for Pakistan because they struggled to win Test series at home. They struggled to beat New Zealand. They struggled to beat England. In fact, they got whitewashed by England. They struggled to beat Australia, and then to come to Sri Lanka and then win would make for some headlines for sure. Sagar Dalwani says the way Pak batters are playing spin by stepping out with confidence. I traveled back to the 2000s era where Indian news how to step out to spin. Sagar Dalwani is in some form today. He wants to take pot shots at everyone. Our Earth is Best is asking, what about West Indies cricket? Why have they been struggling, or will they make a comeback? Uh, See, it's difficult to say. I mean, sometimes you look at the players that they have and you feel that, oh, these guys shouldn't be doing so bad, at least in limited overs. See, in Test matches, they've been struggling for some time. But in limited overs, uh, you look at the players that they have in T20Is or in ODIs, you feel that this is a team that should be doing better than not qualifying for the World Cup or not qualifying for the Super 12s in the World T20, but they didn't. So you don't really understand, what's really wrong with them because there is a talent. Is it the motivation factor? It's very difficult to say because we don't know what is going inside and what's really happening inside the West Indies cricket circles. So it's just sad because I too feel that there is quality, there is talent, but for some reason it's not materializing into something substantial. So yeah, let's hope there is a turnaround because you want the team, because see, cricket is anyway a sport which is not played by a lot of countries, by not by a lot of nations, at least at the highest, at least uh, at least at the highest level or at the highest quality. I mean, yes, there are a lot of associate teams, but what I'm trying to say is that there aren't a lot of serious cricket teams. I mean, serious is also not the word. How do I how do I say it? I'm struggling to find the right terminology for it. Uh, there aren't a lot of mainstream cricket nations, right? You would probably say 8 to 10. So you always want those 8 10 nations to do it, to play cricket at the highest level possible, at the highest quality possible. And when you see a downfall like that of West Indies, it hurts because it brings down the overall quality of the game of cricket, right? And at the same time, you want to see the likes of Scotland, Netherlands, Ireland keep improving, Zimbabwe keep improving, because it really ensures that the quality of cricket around the globe is going upwards, and it will give you better cricketers, it will give you better matches. So yeah, it's sad to see, West Indies decline, and I really don't know why it's happening. Sagar Dalwani says England and Australia have at least 5 players in top seven who play spin well, and India at best has 2 or 3 of them. Painful for an Indian fan who has seen her. And I don't agree that they have at least 5 players in top seven who play spin well. It's one thing to play spin well in England, and it's one thing to play spin well in Asia, because if these guys were able to play spin well in Asia and in India, they would have won, or they would have at least drawn the Test series versus India in India. That didn't happen. So I'm not. I don't think I agree with that. But yes, Indian batters need to become better against spin. That is not something that is not something that I would deny. Max Mojo says you shared an article on Twitter about stadiums. What is it exactly about? Uh, it's a very big article, but the gist is how Indian fans are not treated well at the stadiums and what are the reasons and the consequences of that. So it's a good article. You should go and read it. There's a similar article on cricket.com as well, where Basta Parida has written about how the tickets not coming out yet is really affecting the pan India tourism, because uh, people would like to travel across the country to watch a few cricket games. The prices of hotels have already gone up. The prices of flight tickets have gone up, but there are no match tickets still available. So that is the gist of the two articles. You guys should read it. Sanjay Bharti Saravanan says, speaking of rain stopping game, I think this World Cup rain will play a major part. Let's hope not. Let's hope not. Let's hope it's a rain-free World Cup, because the last World Cup had four washouts, which was the maximum uh, any edition of the World Cup had. So let's hope it's not the case. Anyway, I've been on this show for 47 minutes now. It's 9:48, and a lot of people would have had their dinners by now, would have called it a day, and would be just relaxing. It's time that I do the same. I love doing this show. I hope you guys who are watching also did the same. One small request before I end this show: please press the like button. If you are watching cricket.com for the first time, please subscribe to cricket.com to follow our all other content on all our platforms. We have a cricket.com app available on both Android and iOS. You should follow cricket.com on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We are also there on Threads now. And if you like whatever I had to say about cricket, you could follow me on Twitter at Gulkirat as Gel, uh, on Instagram as GillyCricket, and I'm also there on Threads by the same handle. So please, and yeah, that's about it in today's show. Sagar Dalwani, I will catch up with you sometime in the next show, but right now I have to end the show. And yeah, thank you so much to all of you for joining. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please stay tuned with all the updates related to cricket on cricket.com. Thank you. Bye bye. See you. Good night.